I still see prejudice in the synagogue on the Sabbath in Mark 3. And this prejudice is not directed at the man. They are prejudiced toward Jesus. I see you. You look like you want to believe me, but you confuse him. Let's take the word apart. Prejudice. The definition is in the word. Prejudge. That's what prejudice is. And it doesn't just happen racially or socioeconomically. Prejudice is when you put yourself in the judge's seat or the jury box. These men had the opportunity to witness a miracle, but rather than be a witness, they wanted to be a judge. And every day that you and I wake up, we have an opportunity to witness resurrection power all around us. We get to witness it in the lives of others, and we get to witness it on our own behalf. We get to be a witness, but you can't be a witness if you insist on being a judge. What I'm trying to say is this. Have you already made up your mind how God can bless and who God can bless and when God can bless? Have you already made up your mind about how God can do it to the extent that you miss that the very author of life is right in front of you and they are trying to kill the very thing that God sent to save them? Why? Because they've already made up their minds. We pray for wisdom and God tries to send it through our wives. But we are prejudiced. We prejudge the people that God sends to help us. So rather than accept the wisdom, since we don't like the truck that it came in, we'll send back the wisdom because, well, she's always like that. Well, she's the one that God might use to show you your system. He might. This whole chapter is worth preaching. I wish we had all week. All right, touch your neighbor, say, fix the system. Fix the system. They were looking. I see it sometimes. I see people who look like they came to church as a favor. Or like a last resort or something. Like, will you stop asking me if I come once? And man, they are looking for something not to like. I just, sometimes you can feel the energy of somebody where it's just like, And they will miss a revelation because one of the worship leaders had a rip in his jeans. I just don't know if, And God was trying to show you how holy he is. And God was, you missed it. Looking for a reason. Looking for a reason. He was a threat to them. So they already made up their mind. They already had their verdict, and now they just needed to collect the evidence. It's called confirmation bias. When you wake up believing God is for me, you look for evidence to support that verdict. When you wake up believing that all things work together for my good and that nothing can separate me from the love of God, here's how good it is. When you believe that, when you are looking for a reason to rejoice rather than a reason to accuse, it causes you to weigh things differently. So you say, like Paul said in Corinthians, he said, on one hand, we're pressed, but on the other hand, we're not crushed. On one hand, we're persecuted, but on the other hand, we're not abandoned. On one hand, we're struck down, but on the other hand, we're not destroyed. In other words, what I'm trying to say is that if you would get out of the judge's seat and get a witness mentality. God, I want to see the good in people. I want to see the best in people. I want to believe the best about people. I want to see the opportunity in opposition. Somebody shout, I'm looking for it. I'm not looking for a reason to be offended. I'm looking for a way to forgive. How many are glad that God looked beyond your faults and saw your needs? He could have accused you. He could have condemned you. He could have cast you down, but he didn't. How many are grateful for what he didn't do? For what he overlooked. But they got it twisted. We get it twisted. Instead of looking for an opportunity to meet a need, they were looking for a reason to accuse. Sometimes God puts you in difficult situations and you get it twisted. He put you there to change it, not to complain about it. And you're out of order. You're out of order. I wish I had a gavel. This isn't working. The man can't work because his right hand, Luke tells us it's his right hand. It must mean is his dominant hand. It must mean it's the hand of blessing. In Jewish culture, they use the right hand to bless. So he needs a blessing to be a blessing. Sometimes we try to be something that we have not received from God, and it never works. Jesus stands the man up, and he picks a fight. I'm sorry to disrupt your Mr. Rogers Jesus relationship with the Lord. You know, the one where Jesus went, come on, guys, stop it. We're not finding that Jesus so far in Mark. Maybe he'll come later, you know, the exasperated mom. Guys, be nice. He hasn't made an appearance so far, and we're in Mark chapter 3, and he's challenging their whole system because, number one, two things I noticed. He could have taken the man to the side. He didn't. He could have easily been like, Peter was always ready to do something. Grab that guy with the bad hand. You want me to throw him out? No, Peter. Is he distracting you? No, Peter, I want to talk to him after. I'm going to fix his hand. But it's the Sabbath, and we're not supposed to work on the Sabbath, and I don't want to offend anybody. So just pull him over to the side. I'll talk to him later. I'll when I wrap it up. Just make sure he doesn't leave. I want to see him. Because on the Sabbath, remember, it's a day of rest. 6 days God created, 1 day God rested. It was the order of creation. The Sabbath is the only one of the 10 commandments that reflects the order of creation. It's like a chance for us to be like God, how he rested, okay? But notice, work. Why am I sounding like Rihanna on this stage? I didn't mean to. Rest. Work, rest. Work, rest. Okay, so for everybody who wants to just pray, not rest, work. That's out of order. But after you have worked, rest, like God rested from his labor. It's a shadow though, it's not the substance, because the real Sabbath is Jesus himself. It's his work that enables us to rest from ours. Love the gospel. So they are so consumed with their Sabbath that they are missing God's Sabbath. It's a perversion. I know we usually use the word prejudice for racial reasons, and we use the word perversion for sexual reasons, but this is a perversion. A perversion is any time that a gift is used against its intention. That's the perversion. And Jesus heals him. Not only does he stand him up publicly and call him out publicly, but he does it on the Sabbath, which is understandable if the guy has a gunshot wound. Because the Sabbath had, okay, here's what the teachers of the law did. God gave them this gift called the Sabbath. He said, I want you to rest one day. When you rest like that, it is a picture of how I rested. It is a gift to you, and it is a shadow of a rest that is to come for the people of God, where you can cease from your works and receive by grace what you could not attain by labor. So I want you to rest, to get into the rhythm of resting from your works. But they did what we tend to do with the gifts that God gives us when we don't understand understand the intention of the gift, we get it twisted. We get it twisted. So Jesus shows up on the day where they're not supposed to work. Little rules like this they made. They had over 600 of them. There was one command and they made 600 rules around it. They had like a system for every possible situation that could come up. Okay, so if you need to take a journey, you can go 1,999 paces. But if you take a 2,000th step, then that's technically work. So you had to count your steps, okay? If somebody has a dislocated foot or a dislocated hand, you can't set it back into place on the Sabbath. That's from Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. Observant Jews still celebrate the Sabbath in the same way today, Sabbat, and you can't set the bones back in place on the Sabbath, but there's an exception. If the person's about to die, you can do it. Well, that's awfully nice of the pastors to make that exception. If you see someone about to die and you can save their life, you can do it on the Sabbath. It sounds crazy to us that they would take a gift that God gave, like a day off, like a day to rest from their labor, and twist it to the point where they forgot what Jesus said in Mark 2:27, when his disciples were working one day on the Sabbath. They were actually walking and they did something that was considered work. They took some heads of grain and they were hungry. So they rubbed the, what do you call it on the grain? The membrane, I'm gonna call it. It's not called that, but I'm gonna call it that. They rubbed that hard part off and ate the stuff they could eat. And the Pharisees said, they're working on the Sabbath. Jesus said, you missed the entire point of the Sabbath, which was a gift, because you were so caught up in your system that you perverted and twisted the gift. Watch what he says. This is very, very strategic. That the Son of God would say to the people that he came to save, the Sabbath is made for man, not man for the Sabbath. Now, I know it's a little difficult for us to get much meaning out of that because we don't celebrate the Sabbath in the same way. So let me try this. Stuff was made for man, not man for stuff. The essence of the lesson is this: when you take a good gift and turn it into a God, it becomes destructive. Let me try another one. Sex was made for man, not man for sex. And what the enemy loves to do is to take a good gift that God gave you and twist it and disfigure it. Like this man's hand was disfigured. That's what had happened to the people's hearts, so that they had taken a gift and turned it into a prison. They were serving something that was supposed to be serving them. When God sees you chasing material possessions, he says, that stuff is meant to serve you. Why are you serving what I gave to serve you? It's out of order. We've got one man who can't work because he has a condition, a situation. We've got a system of religion that won't work. Why? It's the Sabbath. We can't do it on the Sabbath. Jesus said the Sabbath is for you, not you for the Sabbath. I gave it as a gift. Why would you twist the gift? And it causes me to wonder, how many gifts has God given me in my life that I have twisted? God gives you people in your life so you can encourage them, and then you become so needy, you twist the gift and ruin the friendship. Now y'all are quiet. How many gifts has God given us? How many people will you sleep with? before you realize that sex is a gift. It's a wonderful gift, but it's a terrible master. Within a certain context, it's a wonderful gift, but if you get it twisted, it begins to take over your life. You're out of order. You put the Sabbath before people. God puts people before the Sabbath. Religion always gets it twisted, though. And we always tell you 10 things you got to do to be a good Christian. But God taught me that I don't change so he will love me. I change because he has loved me. This is the revelation of the cross. We love him because he first loved us. And when you get that out of order, you will twist great gifts that God gives you in your life. Hey, thanks for watching. Make sure to click the subscribe button on your screen so we can notify you whenever we release new content. Go ahead and subscribe now. I'll see you next time.